Okay, Math 85, I am back with section 5.3. And we're going to be changing fractions to decimals. If you have the book, I am on page 456. So, first of all, I want to be able to take a fraction and convert it into a decimal. So, I'm going to start with 2/5. Now, the way they show you in the book, and a way that will always work, is divide your bottom or your denominator into your top or your numerator. The decimal you get after your division, that's your decimal. So I'm going to show that. I'm going to take 5 and divide it into 2. Now, the decimal point goes after the whole number, and if you want to, you can add a 0 or a couple zeros if you want. Since 5 is already a whole number, I don't have any decimals to move, so this is going to go straight up. So does 5 go into 2? No. You can put a 0 there if you want. You don't have to, but you can. Does 5 go into 20? Yes, it does. 4 times. 5 times 4 is 20. So, then you're done. Let's try another one. What if I had, I did 2/5. What if I had 5/8? So I want to change 5/8 over, convert it over to a decimal. So again, I am going to divide the bottom into the top. And I have no decimal points outside the 8. It's already a whole number, so I don't have to do any moving on the outside. My decimal point is always after the whole number, so I'm going to put it after the 5, and I'm going to add some zeros. I don't know how many I'm going to need. I may need 2. I'm just going to try 2. I can always add more. So I'm going to bring the decimal point up so it's between the 5 and the first 0. So does 8 go into 5? It's too big. If you want, you can put a 0 there. If you don't want to, you don't have to. So let's go on. Does 8 go into 50? It does. I think the closest I can get is 48. So I need to put it above the whole 50, at the end of the 50 rather. So showing that it goes into the whole 50. So 8 goes into 50 6 times. 8 times 6 is 48. I'm going to subtract. 50 minus 48 is just 2. I'm going to bring down the next. Ooh, I'm going to need to add another 0. So does 8 go into 20? It does. Yikes. It goes in, let's see, once is 8. 16's pretty close. So 8 times 2 is 16. I'm going to subtract. And 20 minus 16 is 4. So see, I need to bring another 0 down. I needed to add another 0 because I had a 4. And 8 didn't go into 4, so I needed to add another 0 so I could bring the 0 down. So does 8 go into 40? It does. 8 times 5 is 40. And I have nothing left. So 5/8 is equal to the decimal 0.625. Are we kind of catching the hang of it? All you're going to do is divide the denominator into the numerator. And you did long division in 5/2, the last part, part C. So if you understood that, you should be fine. I'm gonna try a little bit of a harder one here. So let's try converting 17/4 to a decimal. So again, I'm going to divide the bottom into the top. And I don't need to move any decimals with the 4. It's already a whole number. So the decimal goes after the 17. And I want to add a couple zeros. So does 4 go into 17? Well, I know 4 times 4 is 16. That's pretty close. Oops, I need to bring my point up. Bringing it straight up. So 4 goes into 17 4 times. I'm going to put the 4 to the left of the decimal point because it does go into the full 17. 4 times 4 is 16. I'm going to subtract. 17 minus 16 is 1. I'm going to bring down the 0. Does 4 go into 10? It does. It goes in twice. So 2 goes to the right of the decimal point. 4 times 2 is 8. 10 minus 8 is just 2. I'm glad I added another 0, or I'm glad I had started out with 2 zeros. I didn't know, but I'm glad I had started out with 2. So I bring down the next 0. 4 does go into 20 5 times. So 17 over 4 is 4.25 as a decimal. Now, if you would like to change that to a mixed number first, and you divided that as well, if this is easier for you, it's up to you. Goes in 4 times. So we have 4 1/4, and then if you know that 4 1/4, what's a quarter in money? 25 cents. So if that's easier for you, try that. And that will work with mixed numbers. That will work with mixed numbers for you. Let's try one more, and again I'm getting these off of the top of page 456. You have the book or the e-book. Let's try one more, 13 over 20. And again, I'm going to change that to a decimal. So again, bottom goes into top. So bottom number is always here, top number is always inside. So again, I'm not moving any decimals around. The 20 is a whole number. It stays 20. So my point goes after the 13. I'm going to add a couple zeros. Point goes up. And let's start dividing. Does 20 go into 13? It's too big. If you want, since it doesn't go in, you can put a 0 if that's helpful. If you don't want to put the 0, you don't need to. So does 20 go into 130? Well, does 20 go into 13, or does 2 go into 13? I'm just looking at the 2 and the 13. So, let's see. 2 times 6 is 12. That's pretty close. So I'm going to do 6. And 6 times 20 is 120. And again, if you need to use your calculator, use your calculator. So I'm going to subtract, and what's 13 or 130 minus 120? It's 10. I bring down the next 0. Does 20 go into 100? It does. How many 20s are there in 100? 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. If you want to do multiples, you can, if that's easier. Goes in 5 times. 20 times 5 is 100. So 13, the fraction 13 over 20, as a decimal, it's 0.65. So that's all there is to that first part of 5-3. You're just doing long division, just like you did in 5-2 part A. So second part of 5-3 is we are looking at adding fractions and decimals. Now, we can't add them as they are. We need to have them both be decimals or both be fractions. So, if you're looking at the book, they want you to change everything to decimal. So, 1/2, you might already know that 1/2, or in money, half of a dollar is 50 cents, or 1/2 is 0.5. You might already know that. If you don't, we can always divide the bottom into the top. And again, just doing what I did before. Two goes into 10 5 times. I really don't need that 0. So 1/2 is 0.5. If you might already know it, you can punch it in your calculator and get it. It's up to you. So now, since I know 1/2 is 0.5, they're both decimals now, so I'm just going to add them. So I like to put the bigger number on top and make sure you line up your decimal points. And we did this in 5-2 part A. And I'm just going to add down. So my answer is 7. You can do 7.0 if that's easier for you, but 7.0 really is just 7. And that's it. So you're just changing your fraction over to a decimal, and then you're adding. Let's try another one. Let's try a bit of a harder one now. I want to add 9.73 and 17 over 20ths. Cannot add as is. They both need to be decimals. So I'm going to change 17 over 20 to a decimal, and just like I did before, I'm going to take bottom and divide it into the top. So 20 decimal point. I'm going to add a couple zeros. I don't know how many again I'm going to need. Decimal after the whole number. Does 20 go into 17? Too big, no. Does 20 go into, or does 2, let's make it easier, does 2 go into 17? 2 times 8 is 16, that's pretty close. So 20 times 8, just add a 0 onto the 16, it's 160. Subtract down. And I get 10. And I'm going to bring that second 0 down. So I have 100. And we just did this. How many times does 20 go into 100? Last time we found out it was 5. So 20 times 5, there's 5 nickels. There's 20 nickels, sorry, in 100. So 17 over 20 is 0.85. And now I can add them together. So back to the problem, 9.73 plus 0.85. And again, I'm going to put the bigger number on top. That's what I like to do. And line up, make sure your decimal points are up underneath each other. Make sure that everything is lined up. And now we're just going to add down. So I get 8, 15, carry the 1, bring down my decimal point. So my final answer is 10.58. So all you're doing there is when you want to add a fraction and a decimal, change your fraction to a decimal and then add them. Okay, next we're going to be, again, less than or greater than. And we're going to be comparing a fraction to a decimal. So again, we're doing the same thing. And let's look at 1/4. And you might already know this. Is a quarter less than or greater than 0.4? Now you might know that a quarter in money is 0.25. If you don't, you can always do the long division or use your calculator. 1 divided by 4, that's what you would punch in. 1 divided by 4. That will give you your decimal. So who's bigger, 0.25 or 0.4, or 25 cents or 40 cents? Well, 0.25 is less than. 5.4. So just put the less than in the blank and you're done. Okay, let's try another one. Is 3/5 less than or greater than 0.35? Now you might think, oh, there's a 3 here, there's a 3 here, there's a 5 here, there's a 5 here, they're equal. No, no, no. So I am going to do long division on this one because I'm not sure. Last one was easier. So I'm going to take bottom into top. So I'm going to take 5 into 3, decimal point, add a 0, or 2 if you need to. Bring the decimal point up. Does 5 go into 3? No, too big. Won't go in. Does 5 go into 30? Yeah. 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 6 is 30. Subtract. Nothing. So 3/5 is 0.6. So I want to know, is 0.6 less than or greater than 0.35? Or is 60 cents bigger or smaller than 35 cents? Well, of course, it's greater than. So we just put the greater than in there, and we're done. I am going to stop there and continue with part 2 of 5.3 in the next video. So I'll see you there. Again, if anybody has any questions, let me know.